A quick video. So my old Dracaena and my old Ficus died, so I've got good replacements, and I've had it maybe for about half a year, a bit more actually, and they're growing amazingly. So like, for example, none of the tips, well, hardly any of the tips have gone yellow, which you can see here. Look, there's all fresh green leaves, hardly any gone yellow. And so what you'll notice is, if I go here, you'll see that, you know, how I did it last time and it died, it was on woody stems. I tried to cut between there, but there's no growth points, it seems. Well, it's harder to grow from that point. But if you look here, you'll see that all of this is greenish. You can see the points here. You see that it's green. So along the whole thing up to the top, it's green. So if you were basically cutting, I'd recommend cutting somewhere halfway between here maybe, and then removing the lower leaves and then trying to propagate it. But you obviously need a bit of space, so maybe about, I don't know, about 5 centimeters, a bit more than that, if you want to propagate them in water, I'd recommend. And then I'll give you another example here. There you go. So this is a good example. So you see that this is green, fresh growth, and you can see it's growing up to the top here. But if you go further down, it's all woody. You see here, it's all woody down there. So that's where I tried to propagate it. Maybe I did something wrong or left it too late on my old plant and it just died. But I'd recommend cutting it from one of these green points here and then removing the lower leaves and then trying to propagate it. Just enough so there's enough space for it to grow. But you see, look, it's growing quite nicely here. So that's the Dracaena plant, and it's been going for 6 months. And what I'd recommend is, if you're doing it indoors, I'd recommend, because my tap water in London is quite hard, so basically I use this, and I'll show you now. So I actually was looking at a YouTube video, and they recommended using Stress Coat API, basically, and it's normally used in like fish tanks, but basically it reduces chlorine and chloramines. And what I've noticed is you can only need to put like a few drops, maybe 2 or 3 drops in here. You don't need many, and it will cover like at least 1 litre plus. You see here, add 5 mils to 10 gallons. So that's quite a lot. You don't even need that much. So you just give it 2 or 3 drops with a pipette, and then shake it. And then I basically water that, and it prevents these yellow tips. So that's a good tip. Definitely recommend these Stress Coat API, and it's like a liquid that you just basically just pour. It's gone green because I left some residue at the top, but it's really, really good. So I recommend that if you want to prevent yellowish leaves. So moving on to my Ficus Benjamina. So you'll see that it's growing quite nicely indoors, but you see all these new shoots here. You see all these new shoots that grow, and you see these little new, that was an old leaf. You see all these little growth that are growing from here. So when I tried to propagate mine last time, that was all dead. That was all greyish, and you can see that's still fresh. If you remove the bark, you'll notice it's green underneath. I'm not going to do it because I don't. There you go. So you see there? It's green there. So if I zoom in, it's green. You can't really see it, but it's green underneath. That's how you know it's fresh, basically. So if I do a bit more, just to show you, there, you see there? That just shows it's green, so it's fresh. Hopefully that's clear to see. I don't want to be doing too much, but you see that because of that, they will have some fresh growth growing from here somewhere. So let me try and have a quick look. So you see here, you see there's fresh growth from the stem because it's still alive. If I was to scrape that, it would be green. So that's why it's growing from there. So that's the test I do to just check whether there's growth points, or that it's just still alive. But you can see it's growing from there. So you could probably cut there and propagate if you needed to. But if I show you the rest of the plant, you'll see that loads of new growth here. Basically everywhere on the end of the plant, I'll probably need to prune it, is new growth basically. So you see at the end here, basically everywhere you look, there's new growth. So I'd recommend basically keeping these indoors for now. Well, I am, but you see there's fresh growth going here. Look at this baby leaf there is growing. So yeah, all these cool growth points here. So that's how you know it's doing quite well. You see this everywhere, literally everywhere you look, there's new growth. So I'm waiting because it's only beginning of May, so I'm giving it more time. But you'll see this will basically just grow out, and any old leaves just fall off. And they fell off earlier this month, but it does quite well. And you see at the top is new growth. You see there? That's all new growth. You can see the difference in the colours between old growth and new growth. And you'll see that this one is a bit yellowish. That's going to eventually die off and fall off. It goes yellowish, then falls off. So you don't need to really worry about that. Same as this one here, you see? That indicates that's old growth, and it's just going to fall off because it's right at the bottom. It's hanging on in there. But you'll see that there's often like ones here where it's just not grown. So that's probably dead. You see the wood, it's different colour. It's a bit more greyish colour. So you see that going along here, it's doing quite well. This soil is quite a light soil and it retains quite a lot of moisture. It doesn't look that great and it looks a bit clumpy, and I'll probably have to replace it soon. But it's fine for now. But you'll see there's loads of new growth. And at the moment it looks like that. I'm hoping that it will kind of grow out here. Maybe I need to prune it. But you see at the top, it's just kind of just... There's not much going on here, because when I bought the plant, it wasn't really. It was like this basically. They kind of advertised it as a tall plant, and it this isn't really counted as the length, but they seem to count it, which was a bit annoying. But yeah, you see it's growing quite well here. So that's my ficus, and that's my Dracaena marginata. And then what you have is I've got this. So this is my birds of paradise. But you see these are all old leaves that they basically, when they shipped it to me, it was already damaged. But you see a lot of the leaves that are old, they're curled and they're bending. And I've had to basically cut at the bottom here for a really small one, basically here, because it was just dying off yellow. So I just thought I'd just cut both sides off and then let this one grow. So you can see this is a new one that's not unfurled yet. A good tip for this is get a damp, basically warm cloth, and then put it over this for a second, and it will basically help it from to unfurl. But if it doesn't want to unfurl even after that, then just leave it be. But essentially what here is a little it's like a tape kind of thing where it holds it in place, like a seal thing. And when you put warm, basically cloth over it, it kind of separates that. So you can see it separating away, but I've kind of left it to do what it wants on its own. And that's on its own in a plant that's basically here on its own, because it's competing with the rest of this. But what you will see is new growth here. So this is nice fresh leaves. And I know it's a bit of curling. That's because I was not handling it properly, but you see that's nice and green growth. And you'll notice between here, this used to be at the bottom, and now it's growing all of this. So it's growing healthy, and it's under this grow light by Mother. This is a double Mother plant grow light. It can be timed, it's great. So that's growing there, and you can see a few other plants that I've grown. I had to save this one because I had to repot it, because when I bought it, it was in a mess. So I've done that plant, which is the purple pearl, and then I've done some of these, what's it called? What's the plant called? Monarch Magic. That's it, that's what the nickname is. It's got an official name, but you see it's growing quite well under the grow lights. So I got these as plugs, 12 plugs, and I was recommended to basically, pot them on into smaller pots first, and then as they grow out and the roots more established, then plant it in a bigger pot. So that's what I've done basically for these ones here. And you see some of these are a mix between ones that don't have the buds and those that have the buds. Those are the ones that are opening slowly. Then the ones in the middle here. So I definitely recommend this grow light, because this wasn't like this since I got it. So you see that there's ones here, and then you see the cool one here. So that's growing out, and that's growing out a lot. And I'd say it's thanks to the grow light, because I haven't been able to leave it outside because of the weather. It's been quite crap. So you see my bonsai there. That's a boss. That just survives. It's gone through shit. It's gone through like spider mites. It's gone through everything. It's lost all its leaves. It's complained about being indoors. As soon as I left it outside, it's completely fine. It just seems to like the sun and the rainwater instead. And then you have my, in this corner, you have the, what's it called? The Ceanothus. It's in the standard format, in the tree format. So it will only grow as a bush, basically. It won't grow any taller than that. But that, basically, I left it outdoors. And in the cold weather, it's gone from really green to basically, it's lost all of its colour, but you can see it's budding there, and hopefully that will just come back to life. And I've left it outdoors now that it's less windy. But yeah, when it was indoors, it was completely fine, and it's kind of just, fallen. Yeah, it's just kind of gone really dull in colour. So hopefully that grows back, and then new fresh growth grows from there. But that's it. And then you've got my aloe plant. So in my last video, I showed my aloe plant, and it was a mess. So it was in a massive pot, and it was way too big. It was in that one there. And so what I did was it was bending. So what I did was I repotted this mother plant. I tried to straighten it as much as possible. It was going bent again, but I tried to straighten that up. And then I basically I cut the pops off because it was just spreading towards the bottom, and it was just getting ugly. And it was the whole plant was just falling over. So I managed to repot these pops, including a small one here, which I don't think is going to root, but it's surviving. So we'll see if it grows. I mean, it seems to have grown, so I don't know. I put root powder in to see if it works, and it's a pot of water, so hopefully it grows. That was the rooting powder I used. And here's one of its pups. And along here is a whole bunch of pups that have just come from that one mother plant that I repotted. Then I've got a bunch of new plants that I've kind of grown now. Don't ask me why. I got this as a free sample, and it's growing this red kind of leaf, and it grows up there. Here's my tomato plant. It's going massive. It's outgrowing all my other plants, but you see it's two here, so hopefully it will start flowering, and then I can repot it. But I've just kind of left it now in the soil. You see the soil is well rooted, so you see it's loving this soil, which is great because it retains moisture. Then you have my rubber plant. It's actually started to. So when I got it, it was a really, really small plant in this pot. This pot, literally exact pot, and it had only 3 or 2 here. So what I did was I repot it, and I know I could pot into a bigger plant pot, but I just couldn't be bothered for now. I will repot that soon. But you see that all of these are old leaves, but you see here all of these red. They've just started to just go red. It's amazing. So it seems to like indirect sun and sunlight, full sunlight some days. So that's my rubber plant. And then you see there's my what's it called? I can't remember its name. Bougainvillea. So you see that it's kind of gone really leggy, and I'm gonna have to cut this off. But you see there's bracts there, and then there's new points that just keeps growing. So what I ended up doing is I ended up cutting it here, and it ended up growing back in the same direction. So I'm probably gonna cut it again, and hopefully it learns its lesson and starts going in the other direction. But here you see all its off-cutting, and that's basically rooted by itself, and it's kind of grown bracts on its own. And I'm going to remove this because I think it's just taking up resource. And you see there's a new growth there, and then also a small leaf going there, which is cool. Focus is a bit crap. And then you have another one that I've done the same thing for, which is that there. And then again, this is my my other plant. I'll probably have to prune this off and cut it and then repot it, and it should just grow back. But that's my purple plant there. I can't remember its name. It's quite a popular plant. So that's basically it. So let me know if you want to see any of my other plants and progress on that. But yeah, that's my plant collection for now.